All right. All right. Let's do. We're gonna watch a little bit of this interview with Candace and Anna Kasparian. Thought it was really good. I saw a clip of this, and Candace kind of talks more about the investigation and some stuff that you guys should see. You're not gonna want to miss this.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for doing this, especially on such short notice. I was planning on doing this segment totally by myself, but there's just so much, and I know I'm gonna miss things, and you do really know this case like the back of your hand. So I wanna start off by talking about what you covered on your show yesterday, because for me, that was it. At that point, I'm like, I'm gonna talk about this and I'm gonna give her kudos because this video footage is very suspicious and we need answers, and it does cast some doubt on the official narrative surrounding Tyler Robinson and how this assassination allegedly took place. So, you have mentioned on your show repeatedly that less than 4 minutes after Charlie Kirk was shot, Terrell Farnsworth, who runs audio and visual for Turning Point USA, was seen taking down one of the cameras that was like on the set where Charlie was, right? So there's 3 cameras in total, but the one camera behind him, which would capture the back of Charlie's head and the audience viewing him, that's the camera less than 4 minutes after Charlie Kirk was shot. That's the camera that Terrell Farnsworth goes to immediately, takes it down, and then there's video of that moment along with some of the context of what you had to say about the video. So I want to just show the audience that, and then we'll go to the new footage that you presented yesterday. Everyone take a look.
So when the footage began going viral, the clip of Terrell taking down that camera in particular, people online, I think, rightfully speculated that there must have been something really important about that back footage behind Charlie's head specifically. And then people were gaslit. We were told, no, there was nothing unique about that camera. There was nothing unique about that footage in particular. Terrell actually grabbed all of the footage, and he did so because people were stealing and people are evil, which we then said our common sense went, that doesn't really make sense, because if he was worried about people stealing, wouldn't he be concerned with the camera? It was just the SD card that he took out. Contrary to what Andrew Colvett is saying, there was something special about that footage behind Charlie's head, and Terrell beelined to it in particular. And he was nervous about that footage in particular because he did not instantly grab all of the SD cards. He grabbed that one, and he did it nervously. Here he is. Here he is.
Isn't that the chair that Charlie got shot in? Allegedly. Why is he touching a crime scene? Why are these guys aimlessly able to walk in there and be free? Why is no one putting tape around it? And I get it, this happened immediately. So you're gonna see Candace talk about this more. But it is suspect that Charlie gets shot, allegedly, or whatever hit, I don't know. And before the police have any chance to get there and make sure that this is an active crime scene and put the tape around, it's like these dudes almost knew what to do.
He's taking down the camera altogether. If you're worried about theft, take the whole camera. It's pretty small. It's in your hand. He doesn't do that. He takes it apart and he takes the SD card out. And he looks around. He wants to see who's looking.
That to me is sus. That to me is very sus, dude. Fuck you looking around for? We've all been little kids before. We've all taken something we shouldn't have or did something we kind of look around did anybody see us? That to me is a serious problem. As I've said, there's holes in the official narrative and in the alternative theories. But this right here is plain in sight. You can see what's happening.
Looking at him. And then he looks down at it and he walks around. And we had wondered, what did Terrell do when he walked around? He hasn't addressed any other camera there, just that one.
So it's definitely strange that he didn't address any other camera except for the one directly behind Charlie Kirk. And you actually reached out to him. You knew who he was because of your time with Turning Point USA. You spoke to him on September 18th to ask about it. What did he tell you?
It was the first thing that made me uncomfortable in this case. He basically was saying a bunch of excuses that didn't make any sense. The first thing he said was, he wanted to secure the footage because he didn't want Erica to see Charlie die in 4K. And I said, Terrell, we all just watched Charlie die. Like, they're not saving her from that inevitability because, that's the whole thing. It was a live stream. We all watched this already. It's all over the internet and it's from the front. Why would you grab the back footage if that was your concern? And then he told me that I said, could you just send it to me because I'm not gonna show the footage. I just want to see it so I can then defend you on my platform, which was my intention to say, hey guys, like this is the reason he did this. Maybe a police officer told him to grab all the footage. I hadn't put the pieces together yet. And he told me, well, I don't know how to send a file that big. And I said, Terrell, you run an audiovisual company. You know how to send big files. Like you can use WeTransfer, you could use Google. And then he said he was worried that Google was going to hack him. I mean, these are just totally, frankly, bizarre excuses for not showing me the footage. I would have happily gone to him. I would have jumped on a Zoom call. And I was like, hey, you're acting really strange. I told him that. I said, this is all very weird. Like what would Google hack you for the purpose of then showing the footage that we've all seen? Like we're all gonna see Charlie die again? Like what kind of a conspiracy is this? And so you fast forward to this preliminary hearing and the testimony of the State Bureau of Investigations. And I find out that actually 8 days prior to him speaking to me, actually on the day that Charlie was assassinated, he sent them Google links. So clearly he wasn't fearful about Google. Clearly he knew how to share a link, as I know he did. So the natural question that I have is, why did he lie to me? Why did he lie to me?
Well, not only that, and this is really important. So he took the SD card out of the camera. You just mentioned that he provided investigators with Google links of the footage. Did he provide them?
As well as a flash drive, which is what was testified to, which means what happened to the SD cards, right? So the SD cards, if you're saying that you wanted to assist the officers, you just give them the SD cards. They know how to figure out an SD card. You don't have to do anything to help them figure out how to do an SD card. And so if that excuse of I just wanted to secure all the footage was correct, that's what you would have done. But clearly his focus was that back footage because he even steps over another camera, which would have had a good view of people in the audience. If you thought, hey, maybe someone shot him that was in the audience or Veloci Center, I would have grabbed that camera that was behind him facing the audience and the questioners. He steps over that camera and abandons an opportunity to grab that SD card at the same time. And he nervously looks around, grabs that back one, and then walks around to the back of the tent, as you just showed.
And I don't want it to be lost on our audience, so I want to reiterate. He never provided, and this is based on the testimony that you can hear for yourselves during the preliminary hearing. He never provided the SD card, the original, SD card to the investigation. He just provided the Google links and a flash drive, which would indicate that there's a possibility of evidence tampering. No? I mean, I'm not saying that he did do that, but that there's a possibility for that.
There's certainly a possibility, and what's also interesting to me is like the SBI, they control the case, right? So that's the State Bureau of Investigations. The lead investigators on the case are the SBI. They were on the ground that day. I believe he testified. It was about 1:30 by the time they started saying, okay, this is your job, your job, your job. Your job is to secure the surveillance. Why are you not giving them the SD cards? And the only excuse that we have gotten about where those SD cards are came from Andrew Kovac weeks later. He told the public that the SD cards were given to the FBI. That makes entirely no sense. This is not a federal case, this is a state case. The lead investigators are in the state. Who in the FBI has those SD cards, and when were they given those SD cards? Did Terrell take it back to Arizona and then give it to Kash Patel thereafter? We don't know, but these are questions that anybody who is looking at this case should be rationally asking, because Terrell had an opportunity to edit that footage. He did. He just did. And the story that we were told by Andrew Colvett was that he just wanted to secure the footage for the purposes of making sure that nobody stole anything because people are evil. But actually, I don't think his priority was making sure that things weren't stolen, because he left those other cameras. He left that other SD card as the one that he stepped over and addressed his computer.
Right.
Like, that's not the first thing. And I want to be clear, this is all happening within 10 minutes of Charlie getting hit. Terrell runs up to a ledge, records a selfie video of himself. As Charlie's being carried to the car, he says, "Charlie's dead," which is a stunning thing to say. A stunning thing. Nobody knew that Charlie was dead. Charlie wasn't going to make it. He explains it away. I was close to him. I saw how bad it was. I just, assumed he was dead or whatever. Okay, I'll accept that. Your next step is not to call 911, but to jump down and secure the camera behind his head. Are we allowed to acknowledge that that's strange?
I mean, I'm acknowledging it. I do think that's strange. And what's even more strange is the exclusive footage that you presented on your show just yesterday. So you asked, rightfully, like, what happened immediately after he took the SD card out of the camera? And you managed to find footage of what he did immediately after. So that's what we're gonna take a look at next. Everyone take a look at this video.
Here is what Terrell did thereafter, seen for the first time. Terrell is there. He looks around, again, nervously, and he puts the SD card in his pocket and he zips up. He doesn't run to the other cameras and try to grab the SD card. Instead, what he does is he whips out his phone and he begins texting with someone.
Yeah, that's sus, bro. I ain't even gonna lie, that's very suspect.
FBI, open up!
And that's what he does. He's texting with someone to say what?
I mean, that's a legitimate question. And think about the traumatic scene that everyone just witnessed. Less than 4 minutes after Charlie Kirk gets shot, he goes for the camera to take the SD card out. Like, I just feel like most people their mind wouldn't go there. I mean, and I could be wrong. Everyone reacts differently, I guess. But
yeah, that to me is very sus, and that tells me that they probably allegedly, right? I'm not gonna say this, gonna confirm it, right? We don't know. But that certainly looks like something that was, how do I put this? Game plan for. Hey, if this happens, do this. I'm not saying why, I'm not saying who, what, I'm not saying that at all. But any normal person either runs for cover, runs away, or if they're close to Charlie, they run to get him to make sure he's okay. And this dude, it's like he almost knew what he was doing. He was just making sure he didn't get caught. That is where, even if you're 100% like Tyler Robinson did it was just a one man.
I know I wouldn't react that way. My first thought wouldn't be, I got to get the SD card out of the camera directly behind Charlie Kirk's head. It's just strange.
Which is the least important footage when you consider the shots. It's the least important footage is going to be that footage, because traditionally it always just showed kind of what was at Charlie's feet and a little bit of the audience. It's not a great shot of anything, actually. The other two cameras would be more significant. If that was your instinct to secure the footage, why not do all three at the exact same time? Why this one being prioritized? And I also want to raise the most significant part. He violates the crime scene to do it. He pulls the chair that Charlie, according to him, just died in, because he said instantly that Charlie was dead. So he knew it was a crime scene, and he drags the chair that Charlie was sitting on that has blood all over it and stands on top of it, stands over the other camera.
That's very suspect, y'all.
Which has been knocked over, to basically unfasten that camera, to bring it down, take it to the side, doesn't care about all of these expensive cameras that could be stolen. You know, Andrew's story is he was worried about people stealing. Well, okay, let's secure the cameras. And he just takes that SD card out, and he's constantly looking both ways. Like, looking both.
And you can tell in this video that he notices this is the time to do it, because everyone there is on their phone. They're in a state of panic. They're not looking at the thing or whatever. And he just went and did it, bro. And the weird thing is, and as Candace said, and I agree with her, The like looking around to see is really fucking weird, dude. That's like whenever you were a kid and you stole your neighbor's water balloons, or you stole a snack or whatever and you didn't want them to see it, so you kind of like hid it, or you went to a concession stand and you tried to get the Hubba Bubba gum for free and like act like no one saw it, right? Like, I don't know, man. Makes a good point.
Both ways, as if he is doing something wrong or like he has some sort of a fear. I mean, that's what I see in his body language when I look at that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I have a huge problem with the fact that he didn't provide the original SD card to the investigators. Like that's a huge problem. Okay, so let's talk about the crime scene a little bit, because one of the things that I found strange was how quickly the scene was tampered with in a way that would bury potential or possible evidence in order to help indicate like and find who actually killed Charlie Kirk. So can you go over some of what you find strange? So there was the whole paving over of that area.
Yes.
What do you know about that?
So what we know, and this is what has been shared by the person who directly put down the pavers. So this is not like, oh, he did an interview, he explained everything. He got a call over the weekend asking him to come in for what was described to him as an emergency paver job that was being done because the FBI and the governor of Utah were requesting it. Now, what we do know about that entire area of that courtyard is it was under FBI control. That came out in the preliminary hearing. They described which zones everybody was in control of. And for whatever reason, our FBI, who should not have been involved in this case at this stage. There's no reason for the FBI to get involved in a state crime. Didn't happen across state lines. They decided, giddy up, we're going down immediately and we are going to be in control of the courtyard. So what he's saying would make sense. The FBI was in control. And on Saturday, they had a team come in and dig out and remove all of the dirt. And then on Sunday, a separate team came in and put down pavers. And they said it was an emergency, it had to happen. And so he basically testified, he went on a podcast, so it wasn't like a official testimony, and explained, I didn't know, I'd never in my entire career heard of a paver emergency that couldn't wait until the next week. And they had him lay down pavers. And in the process, they moved about 12 inches of soil. They wanted 12 inches of dirt removed and to have pavers put down. Well, now moving that dirt to put down pavers makes sense. You have to remove dirt to put down pavers, but what is the emergency? This is a crime scene. Why would you do this? None of that makes any sense. And so it's another thing where you go, they literally paved over the crime scene, began paving over the crime scene within 72 hours. It's just an absolute nonsense.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that shit is fucking weird too. But doing some research on this and seeing a few people talk about this, it has come to my understanding that, like in the Idaho murders, which happened there with, I think there's a Netflix documentary about it now. They wanted to like demolish that house immediately and just get rid of it. And the thing with these universities, like UVU, where that this thing happened with Charlie, there's a lot of fear that happens when an event like this level happens on a campus. And the last thing they want, it's going to hurt their bottom line to have consumer confidence, translation, the students and their confidence with the university and feeling safe being sus. So that's why it seems to me, just based on the legal realm, that was in motion fast. But I do agree with Candace that, dude, this is an act of crime. Like that should still be open. That should have been open for at least a few months. So that's a little suspect. Like something's going on here. And as much as, like I said, I with the Andrew Wilson Candace Owens debate, Andrew was able to get her more on like black and white, and Candace was able to go well, my opinion is I feel this, which was probably what her legal team told her to do, just to kind of be safe in case anything happens. But yeah, the paving over the crime scene is very suspect. But I can also see the angle of that's why they wanted to do it, because they didn't want kids on campus to not feel safe. and that hurts their bottom line too. But this is a national assassination investigation. This is the biggest since JFK. I mean, you could argue Charlie would have been a president. Very big political figure. He's the reason why Trump got elected again. So, very weird, dude. Very weird.
I remember you talking about how the authorities also provided Erica Kirk with material that should have been maintained as part of the investigation. Can you just quickly go over that?
Absolutely. And so in any traditional scenario where there is an unsolved crime, even if there is a solved crime, you're going to keep certain things into evidence until you get to the trial, right? That's just, and of course, every one of Charlie's personal belongings is going to be assumed that it needs to go into evidence.
Right.
And you will recall that there was sort of this moment where the public really first saw Erica, and she's hanging out of the window and she's holding Charlie's St. Michael necklace, his St. Michael pendant, and it's on a chain. Now, there are some people that say that that chain actually was not the original one he was wearing and it had been switched, but we do know that that is his St. Michael pendant. She then featured it and discussed how he loved this pendant and how she would get him a new pendant fixture every year. That's completely crazy. How would you just give that immediately back to Erica and not see that as evidence? And we found it strange that so many people who were there that day had like a personal story about the pendant that made no sense. Namely Frank Turek. He told a story and his story has shifted somewhat. And he says it's fine, everyone has different memories. But he says that, when he got to the hospital, they were securing the car. That was another piece of evidence that they got rid of. They towed the car and wanted it cleaned and resold within 72 hours. I mean, the whole thing is just so crazy that you would tow that car in 48 hours that had Charlie in it and could potentially have some evidence. But he tells a story about the pendant, Frank Turek, where he says he went out to the car and first the FBI wouldn't allow him to get his belongings. And then he said, where's Charlie's pendant? Because I know Erica wants it. And the FBI said, no, you can't have it. And he said, no, I demand it for Erica, and they just gave it to him. Like, that's not really a believable story. And I'm sorry that the FBI said, oh, well, if Erica's emotional and looking for it, here you go. None of it really makes any sense.
Okay, I have so many questions. Okay, for our audience members, let them know who Frank Turek is, because they might not be familiar. Like, what is role?
Frank Turek is one of about 20 people who claim that they were Charlie's personal pastor. I find that to be very strange as well. He was with Charlie in the days leading up in Arizona. And for some reason, Charlie needed a rabbi, a priest, and a pastor. I kid you not, in the 48 hours leading up. And they all say that it was because he just wanted to strengthen his debate skills, something that Charlie's been doing for 10 years. He just really wanted to work on his debate skills. Anyway, Frank Turek accompanies Charlie to this event, which is obscure to me that he would be doing that. And then he's kind of filming on his phone, says that he's on FaceTime, rather, is what he says, with his grown adult 35-year-old kids in the middle of a day because they just love Charlie Kirk so much and they want to hear him speak. And mind you, that son that he's referring to, I'm pretty sure, is in the military. And the shot happens and Frank Turek jumps into the back of the car to accompany Charlie to the hospital. And he did a media blitz thereafter and told a lot of stories about what he did in the car and spoke about this necklace that Charlie was wearing and how it was just sitting on his backpack when he was at the car. And the Fed said to him, oh, there it is. What do you mean, oh, there it is? How did the Feds know that Charlie was wearing a necklace? There it is. Why were they looking for Charlie's necklace? These are all sorts of unanswered questions that we are asking. Like, why were the Feds looking for it? Why were you looking for it? Why did Erica want it? Why couldn't this have gone into evidence first and been returned to her at a later date? And I'm told by police officers the usual process is they take everything and then the Attorney General of the state has to sign off if you want anything personal back. For some reason, they violated all of that for Erica, allegedly.
Yeah, all this shit getting botched does not help the. Well, it was just one narrative. Does not help that at all.
We did see her holding it the very same day. So
what I also don't understand, and there might be a reasonable explanation, you would know better than me because you've done so many of these types of events alongside Charlie. After Charlie is allegedly shot, why is he being transported to the hospital in an SUV as opposed to an ambulance? Like, doesn't Turning Point USA usually have like an ambulance nearby in case something happens?
Every single event that I have done has had an ambulance on the side. This is brand new. I mean, everything that day was brand new. I showed how I even texted, like Terrell didn't come to the events. Terrell didn't sit to the side of us. All of that started, and I describe it as sort of boiling the frog. Ironically, the one time, the one semester, so to speak, that I did not go on tour with Charlie, everything changed. They now have him up on a platform. They have him wearing this double mic. They have this camera behind his head. We never had cameras behind our head. You can go back and find the footage.
Yeah, that's weird. It's almost like they were getting Charlie used to the new setup so that when this did go down, there wouldn't be any like way to stop it.
I mean, I have toured with Charlie from 2019 until spring of 2024. I really appreciate how many tour stops I've done with Charlie. And so I was able to immediately look at the situation and go, what is this? What is all of this? Why is Terrell there? My first question. What is Terrell doing here? He does the big events. He's the CEO of the audiovisual company. This is like a chump change event. I've done UVU with Charlie before, literally have done that exact school. You can go find the footage. What are we doing here? And Terrell said to me on the phone, we were trying something new. He kept saying that we were trying something new. What was new that you were trying? He said we wanted immediate, feedback back to the ops back home, so we could cut clips the fastest. Like someone's racing to beat Turning Point at cutting these clips, and so it makes me uncomfortable that there were so many admitted by Terrell new fixtures immediately as they got me out of the picture, putting pressure on Charlie regarding Tucker Carlson as well as me, following my firing from the Daily Wire. And then a year later, Charlie's dead. That doesn't sit right with me. That just doesn't sit right with me. And again, you can look at every piece of this objectively and go, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. And why do we have Turning Point unwilling to offer information that could help make it make sense?
Yeah, that's the part of this that's so strange to me, Candace, because it's usually the same group of people who are like, oh, there's nothing to see here when it comes to the Epstein files.
We're going to cut it there because they start talking about a certain topic that I don't want to get banned for. And I know they're on YouTube and they're doing it. It's fine, but we are not taking that risk. But yeah, guys, you get that. I wanted you guys to see those clips of this guy taking the SD, which it's been out there, but Candace really explains it well. And then another clip that I think she just the other day on her show after the Andrew Wilson and her debate showcased. And it's him like putting the SD card in his like pants or something, and then like going to his phone immediately. Meanwhile, Charlie just got shot like 2 minutes ago. Something's weird. Oh man, I don't fucking know, dude. All right, let's